Welcome to Utopia. Take part in this revolutionary experience on our 2,000-acre sanctuary, ancient Rome, France during the Second World War, and even the Roaring Twenties. Select who you want to be and where, and the rest is magic. Feel free to explore and mingle amongst some of the most beautiful women in the world.
Good time, James. How are you doing, sir?
Howard. Great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks very much for speaking to me. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the movie. Before I actually talk about that movie, I want to talk a little bit about your previous movie because it's like two polar opposites. I mean, the previous film was like this kick-ass woman who's kind of standing up for herself, revenge, and now we move forward to the next one. It's kind of this Orwellian film where the women are kind of when I don't want to give too much away the film away, but obviously it's these women that the intention for this company, if we want to call it that, is for them to serve men, like it was hundreds of years ago. So why this sudden change in kind of tone, especially in terms of the female characters in the films?
Well, interestingly enough, wasn't the movie directly following Hard Home.
All right.
There's another one coming out that's been held on to, and the intent was festivals and whatnot, called Man with No Past. But this film was born out of originally another film of Stephen Paul's called Wifelike, and it was roughly based on that world. And then it started to be a bit of a sequel to that film, and then I came aboard, and there was more discussion, and it turned into a standalone.
Right.
So this was number 5 in that I did last year for the company. So I think Air Force One Down, Shadowland, Hard Home, Man with No Past, Utopia. Yeah, that was done in
5 films last year.
Yeah,
Wow.
in 2023.
Very good. Wow.
I'm currently sitting here in production on number 8 for the same company. So, yeah, there was no rhyme, no reason. Each film has been completely different. There was no intention of, well, now we're going to do this, because it was just, here's the script, and let's go for it. And
but what was it? Sorry to interrupt you. What was it specifically that tickled your fancy about this specific film?
Yeah, the world building.
Was there always going to be some action in there? Because I didn't expect it. That's what I loved about this film, was that it started one way and then there was all this really great action, and really, really great action, which, I mean, your martial arts and your stunt work from your background, it just shines through so well. It's fantastic. So good.
Thank you. Yeah, the action got layered in, or the intent was always there from Stephen. He likes what I do with action, so he wanted to layer in more, bigger stuff. And I had my favorite stunt team here available to me, so I was able to pull off some of the stuff that I really like doing, editorially and otherwise. What I really enjoyed about this film was the world building. The theme park itself was a challenge. The technology and the sort of futuristic look on some of the sets that I think we were able to pull off was the biggest challenge in the time, because we went into construction on a lot of these things. They weren't locations.
Right.
So
the actual sets, like World War II Germany and these kind of places, or the more the kind of laboratory computer set places.
Yeah, the great hall, the great hall, the rooms, like the hotel rooms that they stay in, the Western room, a lot of these things were built
from scratch.
Yeah. The World War II set, the exterior was an existing Paris during World War II set, but it was transformed. I think there was another company using it for 1900s Mexico. So we had to re it to change it back to World War II. And so there was a lot of work that went into that. And the burlesque club itself, the interior was, well, is a subterranean actual burlesque club in Sofia, Bulgaria, here underneath an older hotel that we resurrected. It's not operational any longer. So we found it, and our production designer went to work on it and, revamped it. And
Wow,
it's
that's
pretty
amazing.
cool.
I just would have imagined a lot of it was on sound stages because there are so many different settings and it just looks great. It looks fantastic. Yeah.
A lot of what we did was sound stages, but there were those very few locations. The film we're doing right now has like 43 locations. We're all over the city. It's crazy. But
Right.
Utopia was mainly sound stages, mainly sets.
Uh-huh. Brilliant. So obviously because you write, I think you are very involved with the writers because I think one of them is one of the writers is a producer on the film. No, I think he's produced previous work with you. Is that right? Something like
On
that. I'm not
this
sure.
film, no, just Stephen Paul.
Stephen Paul was the producer. Well, you know, he was the producer on Hard Home as well. No, Stephen, is that right? Am I
Correct.
getting mixed up? That's right. Yeah, yeah. So I imagine that you were kind of in cahoots quite early on in the writing stage, no? Because he wanted to bring in kind of more action set piece and things like that. Was he very? Did he want you to be very hands on, so that you could kind of bring the action in with your type of action direction into the script?
Yes. Yes, quite often in these now that Stephen really likes my style of action, so they write sort of a placeholder for the action in a lot of these now, including Utopia, and then they hand it over to me, and I'll adjust it and write it specifically for our locations and our sets and what we have available to us, and what I know I'm able to pull off with the time allotted and whatnot. So.
Uh-huh. Brilliant. And then obviously I've got to talk about the cast because the cast is very specific. I mean, Moe Dunford, he's done some quite kind of macho roles, but nothing quite so physical. I don't think I've seen him in. Maybe there's something that I've missed, but I've not really seen him doing anything so physical. So was that something that he was really up for as soon as he got involved in the project?
Yeah, I mean, aside from Vikings, he did.
Oh,
He told me when we first met that he did a lot of, axe handling and whatnot on Vikings, and then because I'm very upfront and honest with the actors when they're being. Stephen always has me do a meeting with them when they're being considered, and I'm very specific about what I expect from them physically and how much rehearsal they're expected to attend. And I don't take excuses and I'm tired that day. Nope, sorry. Then, you're
uh-huh.
going to get stunt doubled. Um, if you're not up to the task, then you're not allowed to participate. So
Uh-huh.
Mo was very up for the task and wanted to dive right in, which he did. And I think he had about 2 to 3 weeks of rehearsal before he got unleashed on set. So
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's fantastic. I'm not a martial arts expert or anything, but I mean it's very close quarter. I don't know what kind of things you had to teach for this specific film, maybe Krav Maga or something like that. Very close
a little
quarter,
bit.
I imagine. Yeah. How much of it is filmed in real time, and how much of it do you prefer to leave to the editing room? I mean, because of your martial arts background, I imagine you prefer to do as much as possible in the frame, not on camera.
Yes. I like to shoot to edit. So each section is designed specifically to be able to perform whatever it is, 3, 4, 5 moves to set the actor up for success. So they'll look their best, and the movements are as dynamic within the frame as possible. And then and that's it. And it's we shoot to edit, and then we assemble with the stunt team. We assemble a stunt edit of the dailies of the footage, and then I hand that to the editor, and the
Right.
editor has a template to go from. So there's really no other way to
No,
interpret the footage.
no excuses, though. But yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Brilliant. Then coming back to this world that we're talking about, obviously, I said at the beginning it was very Orwellian. It was almost like a kind of Westworld, very similar to
Uh-huh.
Westworld in a way. So I imagine, I mean, it feels very different, but I imagine that was something that was very much on your mind to make sure that people didn't write it off as just another Westworld kind of thing. So was there anything specifically, any direction you wanted to kind of navigate the film to make sure that it was its own thing rather than kind of being compared to these kind of
Yeah,
Westworld or
yeah, it's far more raw. I mean, Westworld's brilliant and it's lovely, and they have a lot more access to visual effects and that sort of thing. But we try to do things more practically than rely on visual effects as much. Although we do have some layered in that enhance the practicality of the film. A lot of people have been saying tonally that we're more sort of Westworld meets Taken. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, okay,
where it being like Moe Dunford's character has a very specific set of skills, and he is also Irish. Huh, that's interesting. Liam Neeson, but he infiltrates, and he'll do anything for at the cost of love, and because of love, and he'll do anything to track down and try and even spend 5 more minutes with the love of his life.
hmm
And I think the humanity within it is where we differentiate from the Westworld model,
hmm
and our characters. And they don't, when they glitch, they're glitching because they're feeling aspects of their former lives, and they're having memories as opposed to their robots malfunctioning.
Yeah, that's my next question. Because they're not robots. They actually did have memories that have kind of been. I don't know. Don't want to. I just don't want to say too much. But because they kind of their memories are failing, but then they do get these flashbacks. Those kind of things, especially when there's a film where someone suddenly got amnesia or something like that. A lot, 9 times out of 10, it's really, really difficult to believe them because it's a really hard thing to pull off. Here, they did a really good job. I mean, Charlotte was fantastic at it. But I mean, you must have been very
Yeah.
specific when you were casting those specific roles because it's a really hard kind of role to pull off to make it realistic that someone really is going through this kind of amnesia, no?
Yeah, and we wanted to maintain that each individual character was an individual human being as well. So that's where the casting became very specific in that each person had to stand out as an individual as well
Yeah,
as one of the ensemble of the girls. They weren't just the
exactly.
girls.
Yeah.
Each one was
I'm guessing the
somebody.
accents and the races and all these different things were all very specifically picked. No?
Yes, yes. It wasn't like a blanket. We had a mandate for diversity, specifically for the sake of it, or what have you. It was character based,
Yeah.
in that regard. So each person had to pop and stand out as a different person and with a different background from a different, perhaps, country or a different part of the USA or what have you. And it was nice to be able to do that with within the confines of character driven drama. Um,
hmm
because that's not always done these days. So it was very, very specifically cast with that in mind.
hmm We better give me a couple of minutes warning. So just to finish off, then obviously you said what did you say? You're just wrapping or you're in production of a film right now? So you must have
Shooting.
quite a few projects on the go right now. Is there anything that you can share with us that's coming up fairly soon after this release?
Yes, Man with No Past, which was shot before Utopia,
hmm
that we did is Charlotte Vega is also in Man with No Past.
Is in that one too?
Um,
Okay.
and she is also in another one of mine called The Last Gunfight. Um, but Charlotte Vega is the love interest in Man with No Past as well, and it's a got a bit of reincarnation and people living through several lives and a love story throughout thread, and it's a bit of a tearjerker at certain points.
Yeah.
So in amongst
I'm
the
guessing,
action,
I'm guessing there's some action in there as well. Yeah.
oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes,
Yeah.
big
Okay.
action.
Good.
There's huge
Bit of
action.
everything.
It,
Great.
yeah, it's a fantasy that goes through the ages, and it's lovely and very cinematic as well. So I think that's next up, but I'm not sure. I was screened at the final version the other day, and it's lovely. I'm quite proud of that one.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah,
High Ground, and then we have The Last Gunfight, and then the one I'm working on right now is called The Internship.
you have to think about that then. I've got so many going on at the moment. You have to think about it. That's
Yes.
fantastic. No, but I'm really looking forward to these because I really appreciate the fact that we don't get to see these many films. That it's like you said, there's like a love story. It's very kind of character based as well, and then there's these really tough fight scenes. I mean, obviously in a lot of these action movies, we do see typical kind of love affair and all these kind of things, but there's a lot more going on in your films than pretty much most action films going on today. So I really appreciate that. So I look forward to these next ones. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, we
Listen,
like
thank
to
you
have a
so.
reason for the action.
Sorry.
We like to have a reason for the action, not just for the sake of
Yeah,
action.
sure.
We like people to connect with the
Exactly.
characters so that you actually care about them when they're in jeopardy.
Brilliant. Listen, James, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck with the film when it comes out on Tuesday, the 10th.
The 10th?
And
Yeah.
yep, not long now. And if I don't see you before, have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, and hope to speak to you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you so much.
All the very best. Thanks.
Do what is necessary.
I can't tell if this is a dream or reality.
This is something you have to let me do.